Well, last night, bit after 12, Ellen woke up with one heck of a Charlie horse. I've been walking around the fields too much yesterday, probably didn't drink enough fluid. And so she woke me up, and the cat up, the whole house was up. And so we come out on the porch and sat out here and watched the night. And just trying to relax a little bit, looked at the stars, and it was that perfect Fahrenheit 59 degrees when all the frogs went quiet. I didn't even hear any geckos chirping, and the crickets had even gone quiet. Well, there was some moonlight, and it was making silhouettes. Well, that goofy-looking Alexander palm there in the distance, all windblown. Last night, that thing, well, it's kind of an odd shape, and Ellen said, because of the silhouette, says, "Look, the palm looks like a pterodactyl." I went, I looked at it, I said, looks like a chicken. And directly behind there is a fighting rooster farm. So it was very appropriate. It looked like a chicken in the silhouette. So I kind of got into this silhouette thing as I was sitting there in the night, and I looked out here at this agave stalk, and, well, it was making one beautiful silhouette. Well, I was thinking, how it wasn't there, now it is there, and it's pretty stately for a flower stalk. And I know people in California and Arizona, oftentimes when their century plants in bloom, well, they leave those stalks up there in the air for the longest time, even once they were dead and dry. I guess kind of see why. That stalk is such a landmark out here, everybody's noticing it, that it's kind of like when we had the eruptions on Kilauea down here to the south, where Leilani and Pahoa were in trouble. We could watch those from the house. So it was kind of like, watching the ocean or watching a waterfall. It was a feature. It became part of the natural landscape here, and we got pretty darn used to it. Well, when the eruption stopped, hey, it was kind of dull for a while. Well, these agave stocks, it's sort of a happening. I understand why people leave them up. Seeing the bottom of that one is kind of tough. It's buried out here in the ferns and stuff, but there's another one just like it. I don't even really know what the variety is. It has a gold stripe down the edge, and it is not thorny, except right at the tip. There's a bit of a barb, but otherwise it's smooth agave. Kind of a nice plant. Well, I started thinking about how it came into my life, and lo and behold, did I start to get a cascade of thoughts about plants. Yeah, so as I was sitting there in the still of the night, it was as quiet last night as it ever gets around here. It was beautiful. It was like the first time I ever saw Hawaii. Hawaii used to be the quietest place I think I've ever been at one time. And then the frogs came. I mean, there have been crickets around here. They chirp a little, but they don't bother me. They're nice and melodic. And we get the geckos, too. They call, but the geckos don't go on, and their call isn't repetitious either, so it's kind of like a bird chirping. Not a big deal. As a frog, once it got here, man, it just spoiled the nights, because we did have some of the quietest nights on earth here. It was wonderful. So there it was last night, though. It was a flashback to good old days. It was so quiet at 59. Beautiful. Only thing I could hear out there was just the hum of some four-wheeler way out on the highway somewhere. And so I kind of sat there in peace, relaxing. Ellen finally wandered back to bed, or just feeling better. And I'm staring at that agave, and I'm going, okay, let's see, how did I get that plant? When the new Target was built. Yeah, it was a snitch. I've talked before about how all good gardeners are thieves. And, I worked in the industry for years, and I met a lot of the big shots in some of the great big growing companies and so forth. Well, I tell you what, this practice is very common. It is so common that guys will see a piece of something or a seed, take it back, propagate it, make a whole line out of it. Well, I have some videos on snitching. The French would have starved to death during Louis's reign when the potato got to France if Louis hadn't threatened to put anybody who stole potatoes from his garden to the guillotine. They didn't want to eat them; they thought they were poison. But once the king threatened to kill them if they stole potatoes, well, almost all the potatoes near the fence were stolen from his garden in no time, spread across France. Good gardeners are all thieves. Okay, and I know people. Their hackles raise when I say this because they think they're good gardeners and maybe they don't steal anything. Well, snitching, I guess, is the best way to put it. We see something. Most of us who, horticulturally savvy, really, we see no harm in stealing a little seed off of a plant. Well, in the case of agaves, now agaves are perfect for snitching because as they grow, the mother plant starts to produce pups at the base, sort of like the pineapples and the bananas and stuff do. Well, that's what the agaves do. Most varieties, some are better at it than others, some are really abundant in what they produce. Anyway, this particular agave had pups. And when I saw it, I saw the golden stripe on the edge and the fact that it wasn't barbed, thorny. And I said, well, I kind of like that one. I don't really even know what its cultivar variety name is. I have not personally seen this one before. So if anybody recognized it from the video, you can tell me what you call that one. But anyway, it's an agave. It's one of the century plants. And so I brought it home. I put it into the landscape. And then I was looking last night. I said, well, let's see. Oh, goodness gracious. It's surrounded by more agaves. Oh, yeah. I remember how those got here. Same way. Little snitch here or there, Now, I did buy one of the soft leaf agaves that are out there at a sale, the buy-in sale here in Hilo. A little 4-inch pot of one, it's reasonable. But the rest of them popped off of other agaves in other places. Some of them on public property. So I said, oh my goodness, agaves. That's a thorny subject in my life, come to think of it, because actually, in all this plant snitching, the only time in my life I ever got busted by the cops was in California on the grounds of the Mormon temple. Yeah, snitching an agave from an agave Americana. Just a tiny little guy, But I was out there to shovel at night, and I hit it, and as cop come around the corner, saw me over there with a shovel, thought I was burying a corpse. I guess. First thought he has. He's a cop, right? Never would he consider that a guy like me was over there trying to steal an agave from the Mormon temple. Well, I told him the truth. He slapped his head. He says, get out of here. I don't want to have to write this one up. Man stealing cactus. And he left. Well, as soon as he went around the corner, I threw the agave and the shovel back in my truck and I left, right? So I got that one too. But I started thinking, yeah, agaves, right. Yeah, they ran me right up hard against the law. What a thorny subject. That's not a pun, right? I think now that I recall, I might say most of the agaves that I've ever grown, that was really how I acquired most of them. And then I started thinking deeper, and I go, wait a minute, man. Oh, this plant, that plant weighs on my mind because there was a time in history where, for instance, I had a taste for tequila. Well, tequila comes from the agave mezcal, And, I worked in rock and roll and country bands and such. And I remember we had an early gig at a bar in Wisconsin one time with a country band that I was playing with. And so we were down, another band went up later. And so, it was early in the evening, maybe only 7 o'clock or something on that order. And so I sat down with the band leader, and we were at the bar, and drinking a beer, and he points over at the wall, and on the wall there's a bottle of agave mezcal, which is a form of tequila. and it has the gusano inside the worm, and so it's a mezcal de gusano, and he sees that it's about, I think it was about 2/3 full. I suspect there were at least 20 shots in that bottle. I don't know for sure. Anyway, he looks at me. He says, "You drink tequila?" He says, "I'll buy you that bottle if you eat the worm." I said, "Well, Don, the only way you get to the worm is you got to drink the bottle to the bottom." He says, "Yeah, well, I've seen you drink more than that." I went, "Oh my God! All right." So it was on a bet. He put money on it, and I was younger and stupid, and I wasn't quite as sane back in the days when I worked in rock and roll. So I started pouring the bottle. Finally, I got to the bottom of the bottle. We popped that worm out, put him in a shot glass with the last shot, and woof, they taste like tequila. It tastes just like the rest of the bottle, mezcal, so you can't tell what it is, although a lot of guys like to, bite it in their teeth and show it off and all this stuff, like, "Oh, I'm tough, I can eat bugs." But I just slammed it, and I got my money. I won the bet, and so I'm sitting there, and the tequila's starting to work on me, and oh boy, it wasn't long. I felt like I was going to chew the oak railing off of the bar counter. Mezcal or tequila always had that kind of effect on me. I don't pass out. I don't get sleepy. I get crazy, and I want to dance on tables, like that. Pulling out my 6 guns and shooting holes in the bar ceiling. Well, I told him, "Man, this is starting to hit me." My house was 7 miles down the road, up a country road there, and so I figured I could make it home if I got out of there now. And so I said, "Good night, Don. See you later." Well, back in those days, it was still my hot rod days. If I mentioned that I used to enjoy high-performance automobiles when I was younger. I had a 74 Chev El Camino SS with a 454 under the hood, posi axle and a Muncie 4-speed chained up to that thing. And boy, I got in that thing, fired her up, and I had headers on it. And boom, 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 boom. I felt like a Mexican cowboy riding a Brahma bull, turning a 13-second quarter, and I did, straight up, County M, heading to my house. Banging gears in a power shift. I remember seeing the tack hit $7,000 as I was pulling gears, and when I hit second, apparently I must have overdone things a bit, and I felt the vehicle rise up twice. It usually just rises up when you shift, but it rose up twice for some funny reason, and I thought I heard some kind of noise, but I hit third, and I'm still going. And I made it home, dragged my butt into the bed, and woke up the next day, probably pretty late. Oh man, flies buzzing around, man. I could hear them buzzing. They sound like bombers coming in for the kill, and spots in the eyes, dizzy, basically poisoned on mezcal, but still alive. Then. So that dawned on me. I said, "Man, let's see what the heck happened there last night. I have a feeling my car did something funny. Probably a tequila hallucination, So I wandered around down the stairs and went out in the yard. Kind of crawled under my Chevy and looked up, and oh my God, a great big hole blown through the side of the aluminum case of the 4-speed transmission. Second gear had launched pieces and crunched it, so complete grenade. I had ruined the transmission. It was not salvageable. And I had to go out and find another one to repair the car. And after that, I swore that was it. No more tequila. And so there I was, face first, head on against the agave plant again in my life. Somehow or another, that plant seems to always be getting me into places where I probably shouldn't be. Stop by the cops, blow up my car, get so drunk I'll eat a worm, and on and on. So, When I started thinking about that one, I said, well, that is pretty thorny. This agave thing doesn't sound like it's been good in my life. I started thinking about what are all the plants that we come in contact with in our world that actually have, very serious impacts on our lives. They change our lives, maybe. They make everything different. The effect is good. The effect is badly, and so on. I got a lot more stories on what plants do to your life, but I'll leave them for another time. We'll cut this one short on agaves and night silhouette. But yeah, think about that one. We all know that fruits and vegetables, for instance, are good for us. We are full of them. We are what we eat, and we are alive and healthy probably because of what we eat with those foods. But there's other things that happen with plants that have nothing to do with nutrition, food, or any of that kind of real basic human stuff. Well, real quick and short, the opium poppy, holy smoke, look what kind of trouble people get in because of that one. There's a whole bunch of others. And of course, I think the government's laws on cannabis have been incredibly dumb, just dumb, harmful, in fact. So dumb they're dangerous, they're harmful. And so there's another one. There's been a lot of people's lives that have been changed because of that, too. So probably more on what plants have done to my life later, but we'll cut her right there. You all have a good day. Hang loose. Keep the spirit of aloha, even when you're not in Hawaii.